Hi, I'm Cindy Hendrickson, Becker County Master Gardener, and welcome to my garden on this beautiful May day. And 2 weeks ago, I cleaned all the leaves off of this garden, and this is a sunny garden, and I have rose bushes in the back, and it's always a surprise in the spring. You don't know what's going to make it or not. But the rose bushes usually are much later. I have daffodils and tulips coming up, and my peonies are coming up, and though you can move them around this time of the year if you'd like. The best time to move like irises or separate irises would be after they bloom. And last fall I planted about 40 tulip bulbs, and so I'm excited to see what they're going to look like. Because I don't have a very good memory, what I like to do is mark most of my plants, and I also have a garden journal, and it's just a big white piece of paper, and I'll come out and kind of draw a little map of where things are growing. And then I'll make notes on it in the fall, like, oh, I should move this and I should move that. Or gardens are always, you're moving them around. Or if you buy a new plant, then you have to find a spot for it. Usually if things bloom in the spring, then you move them in the fall. And if they bloom in the fall, then you'd move them in the spring. Starting a garden, if you have just your soil and you have nothing planted in it, I would suggest going to garden centers and finding out what works best for if it's a sunny or shady spot, and pick out plants that work well in that kind of conditions. On this particular garden, it was one of my first gardens, and I've just expanded it, and I've added things here and there. Some things didn't work, so I would move them. You're always kind of moving things around, and some things don't make it, so then you have to plant something in it. You can't be disappointed if something doesn't make it, because it happens a lot. When you're ready to pull weeds, I would wait a little bit longer, because right now you don't know if it's a weed or a plant. And it's sometimes really difficult to know what are weeds. You can also look in books or online to see if it's a weed. I've had a wonderful looking plant, and then I found out that it was a weed that I had just let grow. So it's just kind of something that you just have to learn to do. You'll learn by doing it. Another really good thing that I like to do is take pictures of my garden. I would maybe take a picture of it even this time of the year, and then maybe in the summer and then in the fall. And just looking back on them, you can see what you want to move and how pretty it turned out. Some years, a couple of years ago, I had rows of hollyhocks, and last year I didn't have any hollyhocks. So you just never know what's going to make it. One of your best places to go is to go to your greenhouses, and they will tell you lots of information. There's also many websites to go on. And I like taking classes, and I'm a big library fan. Check out library books and read about different things. One of my recommendations for new gardeners is to start small, maybe even with just with a container and a few vegetables, because you don't want to make it so much work that you're not enjoying it. But this time of the year for gardeners is we just get ecstatic because of the new things growing. After this garden comes up in a couple of weeks, what I like to do is add annuals for color. Perennials typically only bloom for about 2 weeks. Some bloom longer. So I would look to see what's blooming now in the spring, and then I like to have something that's blooming in the summer, and then something that's blooming in the fall. At first I had so many things blooming in the spring, so I've been working on getting more things to bloom in the fall. And then I like to put containers with some of your annuals, and they bloom all summer, and they just give you a pop of color. And then many times you can put them in containers, but also you can just put them in the ground. When after your tulips die, then they have all these scraggly looking leaves, and you have to leave them growing because that's what feeds the bulb. So I like to put annual around a tulip bulb. So thank you for visiting my gardens. I'm Cindy Hendrickson, Becker County Master Gardener.